The Queensland Government has committed $12 billion for a pumped hydro project. It's in Yungala, and local residents only found out a bit about this via a newspaper that their homes could potentially be flooded. Let's go live to Yungala now. The National Senator Matt Canavan is right there. Matt, what's the story here?
Well, look, it was shocking to lots of people up here. I mean, I've spent my political career looking for dams and sites, and no one had ever heard of this Burdekin-Pioneer pumped hydro project until waking up 3 weeks ago and reading about it in the newspaper. And what was more shocking is that people are looking at losing their homes, their livelihoods. They too found out about it through the news. In fact, I met a family yesterday whose daughter saw the news online and had to break the shocking news to their parents. This is a Queensland government that says they care about people, and this is how they're treating the people of the Pioneer Valley here near Yungala. It's absolutely unacceptable. And then you've got the other issue here that apparently this is our solution to the energy crisis our country is facing. But the Queensland government made this decision to spend $12 billion based on Google Maps. They did not have a single official or minister set foot here in the Pioneer Valley to look at the site until they committed $12 billion. Now, I get frustrated with government delay and red tape and constant consultants' reports, but all the dams that we are funding around the state, we've spent years looking at these things, funding studies. They've come from the grassroots of people in the area who know and propose these things. The Queensland government is spending money like a drunken sailor right now, and this sort of attitude has to stop because we're getting way too much into debt. We do not have this money, and I don't think this thing will probably ever happen.
Oh, well, let's talk about hydro more broadly. Thousands of kilometres where you are at the moment, we're talking about the Snowy Hydro. This was such a great pioneering project at the time. I am hearing that they're burning tonnes and tonnes, millions of tonnes of diesel because they can't get enough gas to fire their peaking plants at the moment. Can you confirm any of that?
Look, I've heard these reports too of not just gas-fired power stations but coal-fired power stations as well over winter were shockingly using diesel to put into their burners just to keep the lights on. And this is the state we've got ourselves in as a nation. I just heard Zali Steggall there saying we don't need fossil fuels anymore. Well, if we have that attitude and we don't develop gas and we ban fracking, we're going to end up having to use diesel because that's the fuel that is available and around always. It's very transportable. And that's going to be even worse for the environment. We are not doing the proper planning here to keep our lights on as a country. And Snowy Hydro does need to answer questions about this, about were they using diesel, upon whose direction they have. I've asked questions of AEMO about this in the Senate. I've got a lot of weasel words and bureaucraties, but I'll be following up on that on Senate estimates the next few weeks.
Why can't we get an answer here?
Clearly a lot was going on.
Yeah, because there are people contacting you and
obviously.
me saying that, usually they use around 1 million litres of diesel per year. That would be broadly acceptable, I think. But then, again, they're contacting you and I saying they've used around 11 million litres of diesel in May alone, and we can't get an answer.
Well, I'm being contacted, probably you are too. I'm being contacted by people at the coalface, so to speak. These are people in the boiler rooms who are doing this directly, and no, not from the corporate boardrooms. But the reason we're not getting answers from those corporate boardrooms is they are embarrassed. They are embarrassed about
So we're going to rely on whistleblowers right now.
Absolute failure of our energy plan. We are being ruled by morons in the energy space who have no understanding about how electricity or energy works, and that's why your power bills are going up. By the end of next year, the average Australian will be paying $1,000 more on their electricity bills, thanks to the incompetence of the people running our energy system. In a land of abundant oil, gas and coal, we are being asked to pay more and more for power here in Australia. It is totally unacceptable, and we've got to flush all these people out. There needs to be a complete clean out of all the energy regulators, get some fresh minds in there to actually run this show for the benefits of Australian families and Australians, not for their utopian global visions.
We needed just a bit of transparency, I reckon, but we'll see if we can get that about what's happening at the Snowy Hydro.